Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Directors regular meeting for Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right. We have our Metro Cable announcement. The open session meeting is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14, replay on Sunday, June 30th at 6 p.m. and Monday, July 1st at 2 p.m. on Channel 14. Webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district website at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed my line. Let's try it again. www.metrofire.ca.gov. We now have the public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within district jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any speaker cards?
We do have one speaker this evening.
Okay, is it indicated under any agenda item?
It is for just public comment.
All right, would you please introduce our public comment speaker?
Yes, Mr. David Warren, will you please join us at the podium? The microphone is ready for you.
Okay, welcome, Mr. Worm.
Thank you. My name is David Warren. I live in Citrus Heights. A month ago, my wife experienced syncope for about 37 seconds, and the paramedics, came to our house and rescued my wife. It is part of my religious tradition of Tikkun Olam to pay forward in gratitude for things that are good in our life. I'm here tonight to ask that the fire district change its policy on gratuities to the fire stations. I understand why there's a problem delivering money to various individuals, but I would like you to suggest that the fire district allow people such as myself to show appreciation for the people who have helped us, provide gift cards such as from Domino's Pizza or McDonald's, etc., to the fire station. That way there's no individual payment to any fire staff. It's an example of the kind of gratuity for appreciation. And also, we're in a time of mourning. We should be able to show appreciation when people are alive. I know it. I'm 81 years old. I'd rather people came up and said, hey, it was nice knowing you, instead of showing up at my funeral and I don't hear it. And I think that the firemen and women who work at the local fire station deserve to know that people such as myself appreciate what they do. We can't do that. Now, I just want to give you one further example. It turned out that the firemen, and that's not sexist, 3 firemen, ended up at the same coffee shop as my wife and I. It was her first time out. Oh. My wife, when she fell, did a header, and she looked like a raccoon from the hematomas all over her face. And as she sat in the restaurant, the 3 men from the engine company who came to get hamburgers, et cetera, at the restaurant, looked at my wife, and each one came up and said, "Are you sure you're okay?" Not very subtle, but they made it very clear. They wanted to make sure that they shouldn't call the Citrus Heights Police Department and carry me off. At which time, my wife showed each one of them the implant for her pacemaker. But I think that we would like the opportunity to be able to show our appreciation. And I do understand gratuities to an individual are a bad form, but it is not. But we as the community don't get to show our appreciation because of the fear that we're somehow going to get something extra, and we don't. Also, I'd just like to ask the chief to please make sure that the thank you card we sent to his office gets to the station, because we want to make sure that the people that rescued my wife know how much we appreciate their effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warren, for your heartfelt words. And we have his information to get in touch. Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair.
Sir.
Sure, thank you for that comment. We don't hear that very often. That's pretty special. And I would just say, up here, maybe there's an opportunity for us to look at our foundation in that regard. Because I know the foundation does some really wonderful work in this community, and potentially there's a legal way that we can allow citizens to donate to the foundation in lieu of your selected choice. So I know that our director, who has been the spearhead of that foundation, isn't with us tonight. I'm sure he could provide more details, but maybe that's an option that we could look into. So I'm glad everything turned out, and thank you for those kind words.
Can I add one last thing?
That's
Sure.
up to the chair, but I think
I already said sure.
I love
if
good
you'd
stuff.
I don't know who, I'm hoping that the senior training officer for the Metro Fire District is in the room tonight. I have a two-story house. Because of, well, I hate to say, my Southeast Asia vacation, I destroyed my heart in high-performance aircraft. And going down from a second story in that chair was reminiscent of water ditching escapes. But my wife, who's my age, also hasn't had that experience. You ought to have your fire persons go down that stair in that chair so they can appreciate how an elderly person feels when they're looking straight down that stair, because it's more than an E-ride at Disneyland. You guys are too young to remember that, but
It's free.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Warren. We truly appreciate you coming forward and talking with us tonight. Chief, did you have a comment or?
No, but Jeff Fry from our foundation is sitting right behind you, and I'm sure that Jeff will talk with you. He's part of the foundation.
All right. Good luck to both of you. I know it'll work out fine. All right, Chair will entertain a motion for consent items.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Director Sailors.
Aye.
Gould.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Barnes.
Aye.
And Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. And I do need to note a change in the agenda. We will be moving closed session to just after all of the presentation items. So closed session will be moved into just after presentation item number 2, informational purposes only. All right, we are moving on to presentation item number 1, rescue group training, firefighter Van Brunt and firefighter Watts. And support staff. Welcome to the podium, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me, the board and the fire chief, for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name's Ryan Van Brunt. I work at Station 21, C shift on the rescue.
Firefighter Jason Watts, A shift on the rescue. Captain Jason Butler, Rescue Program Manager, Station 21, C shift.
I'm here to inform the board of the rescue program and the recent training that we attended in Georgia. Just like to start off with a little bit of background information, but the rescue program started in 2000. They're not getting it yet? They're not?
No, it's coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Which one is yours? No, that's not. Do you want me to go grab the? No, it's fine. This is yours, right? Okay.
Thank you, sir. So the rescue program started in 2001. Originally, we were a rapid intervention crew, or a RIC element, to supplement the district. In case the worst should happen, the firefighter should go down or be lost inside of a building. And we would come have a specialized set of tools, maybe a little bit of specialized skills, to help get them out, do exactly what our name implies, go rescue them, so that they may go home to their family. In 2006, the addition of a trench rescue trailer designated by California State OES gave us the status of Heavy Rescue Type 1, which is the most robust and complete complement that you can have as a rescue for OES. By adding a structural collapse rescue element and by adding specialized tools and more training qualifications required to be on the rescue, we are now equipped to serve in the most devastating disasters. The year of 2008 brought Task Force 9 to Station 21 through the district, also a California OES designation. It's a swift water element. We received a tow trailer, 2 inflatable boats equipped with outboard motors, and a trailer to haul all the essential gear so that we could be ready to respond at a moment's notice to any disasters inside of the state requiring, and even to the nation. Some of those deployments include Louisiana, Texas for Hurricanes Ike and Gustav, and the Oroville Dam collapse. In 2008, just a few years ago, we received a brand new rescue, thanks to the board and to the fire chief, giving Station 21 a rescue, an engine, which rides in tandem to all technical rescues dispatched, and a medic, along with a dedicated rescue reserve, and of course, Task Force 9 and the trench tow and trench ride trailer. All these vehicles are maintained by Station 21 personnel and are ready at a moment's notice to be deployed anywhere needed. To prepare for these types of disasters, we entered a competition every year since 2016 called Urban Shield. This is a rescue competition that is focused among all the a lot of the rescue companies inside of California, and we come and compete, and we're graded by the best in the business in order to see who mitigated the emergency the best. There are agencies that train specifically for this event every year. The first year that we went, we didn't specifically train. We had a mixed match crew from A, B, and C shift, and we walked away in 3rd place. The following year, 1st, and last year, 2nd. These are the required responsibilities and classes that must be attended by all the personnel at Station 21 to have the rescue qualification. Some of these are separated for ease of seeing. Some of them, they're all state certified classes. Some of them run together. Some are independent of each other. We train on these currencies, these disciplines as we like to call them, throughout the year in order to keep up on state required currencies and to better the public. The rescue could be deployed anywhere in the state at a moment's notice, obviously, for San Francisco or LA for an earthquake, or even if a terrorist attack happened in Sacramento. The bottom line is the rescue is the most diverse piece of equipment at Metro Fire, and we like to be prepared in order to serve the public. This is a list of associated trainings that are not required for the rescue qualification, but you'll find have the qualifications of many members at 21 on a rotational basis throughout the year. The initial classes that we take total 320 hours, and these classes total 270 approximately. It's imperative to understand that the world of the rescue is the most bizarre situations coupled with time constraints, and people's lives are on the line. These situations require a special skill set accompanied with specialized tools in order to protect the members of the public. The only way to achieve this competency is to continually train for the worst case scenarios taught and criticized by the best instructors in the business. In the past, the rescue has been responsible for issuing multi-purpose devices, or MPDs, along with Aztecs to the truck companies in order to get rid of outdated caches of equipment. We have taught a state-certified class, a brief abbreviated version of it, to all the truck companies inside of Metro Fire. We have assisted with firefighter down tactics for firefighters partially through a roof, and even shown how engine companies can help with extrication before the first arriving truck, or even possibly an even further rescue response by using a ladder as a fulcrum to to extract people who may be trapped underneath vehicles. This alone has saved 3 lives in the district, including Engine 21, who received commendations from Citrus Heights for saving a young teenage girl's life on Sunrise Boulevard. Members of the station are primary and senior instructors for state-certified classes such as Rope Rescue Tech, and are shadowing other instructors up and down the state at different departments. San Francisco City Fire is asking for some instructors by name in order to come teach for them. So to the core of it, right? North American Heavy Rescue Symposium. Again, I'd like to thank the board and the fire chief for allowing us to go. It was a great opportunity. This is a list of the classes that we attended. There were 4 individuals that went. We split the classes in half. So one may ask, why Georgia? We were focused on alternative methods of auto extrication, but we were able to network with people from around the globe, from Australia, Chile, and Canada, along with many different states from the southeastern United States. The instructors were world-renowned, including some who had taught at FDIC, and one instructor who had been teaching since 1987, specifically in auto extrication. So we had a lot of instructors who were very well-versed in the tactics. But the main reason that everyone was there was to learn from each other. Georgia was an opportunity to get a different look at Metro Fire's rescue operations from a worldly perspective. Not only were there scenarios which we have never seen or thought of, the bizarre and almost unbelievable, but the best thing about Georgia is the majority of departments attending in the southern United States are understaffed and lack funding. Because of this, they tend to gravitate towards the most simplest and methodical approach with the least amount of equipment. We're rescue nerds. We have amazing equipment. I take that back. We try not to overbuild systems, and we try and be as safe as possible to be most effective to the public. What this allowed us to do is to take their ideas with the backing of the instructors saying that it was either okay to do or not to do, and apply our equipment from the rescue to that situation. The keep it simple approach rang true for us. We learned something new every day and learned a bunch of new techniques and scenarios that, if given the chance by training, we would love to roll out to the district and to the truck company specifically. The techniques to make the department more effective at protecting the public. It's not about anything more than that to us. The symposium offered an opportunity to send 4 individuals to classes we haven't seen before, some that we didn't even know were possible to take. We've gotten a great deal of classes within the state, but Georgia was one of the best that I have personally taken. Overall, we were very pleased with the information and the scenarios, along with learning improved ways to stabilize vehicles and moves like the Darlington roll, which is a way to upright an overturned vehicle inside of a narrow space, like possibly a canal. We were shown scenarios and training props that we could use inside of the district. These are some pictures. Forgive the blurry ones. They're downloaded from the internet. I tried to relay possible scenarios on how they applied. So the upper left is during training. We had about 15 cars in a timed auto extrication with about 20 people inside of the group. Our group was first. This is, bottom left is the training scenario. For objects on top of cars, we need to lift, stabilize, and then extricate around the patient. The bottom right here is the picture from the scenario. And of course, these are those odd and bizarre calls that we don't really get to see a lot. And this was the opportunity to see them inside of training. The picture in the upper right is a simulation of a pancake collapse inside of a parking garage, possibly from an earthquake or from failure structures. It's a very confined space, very hard to operate tools. We had to tunnel in through the back of the trunk in order to get to victims through the front. It's a very time-consuming process. And again, just more bizarre, confined space operations. This is where we use the Darlington roll. I'm sorry I don't have a good picture of it, but we were in the process of doing a training evolution. These are obviously applicable situations in which it may work. The bottom line is that we basically use a strut to lift the vehicle up and then come in and stabilize it, flip the roof down, and start doing our extrication for our victims inside of there. We've had a couple of these within the district. I don't believe any ropes were actually used, but this is an opportunity for us to be extra safe so that we can be better efficient to the public. Overturned vehicles on the side of overpasses and things like that is a serious situation, and we'd like to be as safe as possible so that we don't become part of the problem. These are farm equipment entrapments, something that we never thought of, but have a high likelihood of the district, especially in the Rio Linda area and the Rancho Murieta area. Very possible to happen inside of the district. Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Now for our long-term goals of the program itself, I'd like to hand it over to the program manager, Jason Butler.
All right, thank you. A couple things that we've defined in working with the rescue program over the last 2 years that I've been in charge of it is real-world applications and going outside of just the standardized classes that we go to. You can go to RS1, RS2, con space and trench and do your little drill inside of a box that is normal to how it is to be safe for OSHA compliance. The one thing we want to do is build an environment in the district that actually can have real-world situations actually apply to them. The Type 1 Heavy is a state asset. The #1 goal for that asset is for earthquakes in the Bay Area because we are the perfect location geographically for the Bay Area, even LA. We're within 2 hours away. We can deploy within 3 hours, and we will have very little impact in our region from an earthquake. So our whole template is, as a Type 1 Heavy, is to deploy into San Francisco. We'll use the freeway collapses in the 80s where it smushed cars in between the freeways. Our whole goal with the training facility is we have some delivery of concrete actually this week where we're going to get tubes and pipes and big, huge blocks, 60,000-pound blocks, all delivered where we can build up a little square, put a car in there, and then smush it with a big piece of block of concrete. And then we can tunnel in and kind of do our lifting and shoring and then get the person out, or in this case, a dummy. The whole idea of that is our facilities are trying to gear to where we actually can use that real-life situation outside of the standardized training that you're going to get in a state authorized class. One of the reasons why Georgia was very important was the vehicles over the edge. We don't have the facilities or ability right around this region to hang a vehicle over a bridge, but in the last 8 months, we've had 2 semi-trucks over an embankment to where one had to have struts and shores actually supporting the vehicle from sliding over. And those are things that we aren't able to do in our region as a drill. So we saw this opportunity for Georgia, and they had the vehicles hanging around, the heavy struts, and then they did have one that we wanted to really do, but they ended up canceling it, where they actually smush cars in a pancake type thing that I was talking about earlier. But that was one of those things that we looked at Georgia saying, oh, this is something that we can't get in our region, and we're trying to make a facility to do it. So I want you to go out there and figure out what they're doing for facility-wise and how other training grounds are going to be. And then also, what are they doing so we can bring that back and teach our own individuals in the rescue program and then the trucks outside of the rescue program to further that knowledge across the board. Training opportunities we continually do. Like 2 years ago, we did Arizona Vortex. We had a company from Arizona come out. They are the individuals that actually train with the inventor of the Vortex, and they actually came out and hosted a 4-day drill where they were ready, set, go. You walk in and say, okay, here's your scenario, boom, 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 ready, set, do it. And you're like, oh, okay. What we learned the most out of that was not really any skill sets that we learned from them. We learned that we know what we're doing, even though there's no defined book to teach us how to do that skill set. We just needed the confidence and the ability to have somebody that is a subject matter expert in this thing, that has pushed this thing to the point of breaking it, come in and say, okay, I want you to run this drill, and you guys did great. Here's a couple things we tweaked, but you guys accomplished the goal. Those are the things we're trying to do outside of this region. That was what was the Vortex. That was what was pivotal about the Georgia. The next long-term goal that we want to do is put a heavy influence on RIC operations in our department. The Type 1 Heavy, or the rescue for us, is an advanced RIC unit. We went through 2 years ago advanced RIC and managing the Mayday classes through all 21 personnel. We pushed that out to the trucks. Our next goal is to kind of go through and find the more advancedness of RIC and to figure out, like what Georgia did, is the keep it simple, stupid kind of concept. Is there's things that are right in front of you that you don't realize because you have all these whiz-bang toys that you want to play with, but if you just do the rudimentary stuff, it actually ends up gold. Those are some of the best learning points. So those are our training facility ideas, our training opportunities, and RIC. And now we can just answer any questions if you guys have any.
Any of the directors have any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. You guys did great. It was really informative. And I want to thank you for also reaching out to community stakeholders. I have a colleague or a dear friend of mine that runs and owns College Oak Towing, and he couldn't be prouder of the work that you all do, and he just begs to be even more involved, and he's got some pretty interesting, what'd you call them, whiz-bang toys or something like that, that he funds and he really wants to integrate. So thank you very much for being open-minded enough to use some of the resources and expertise that George and his team at College Oak Towing have. He's very appreciative, and I'm assuming that your team is as well. So thank you for that relationship.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, gentlemen, thank you so much. Folks, both on this, up here in the audience and any of our viewers, as well as our constituents and friends, family, and neighbors, need to understand and hopefully appreciate the intense training, depth, forethought, and broad scope that all of Metro Fire practices and performs every day. And this has given us, all of us, a terrific insight into one very, very significant part. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Our second presentation item, 2019 Fireworks Overview. We have Assistant Chief Wagaman and Fire Marshal Barsdale. Welcome to the podium.
So I never worked the rescue. Those guys are very tall. Good evening.
There is another button.
There is.
Okay.
President Jones, directors, Chief Harms, good evening. Tyler Wagaman, Assistant Chief of Operations, and Fire Marshal Barsdale here with me this evening. As we're getting closer to the 4th of July, I think we're about 6 days away now, and less than 24 hours before the sales of fireworks start to begin within our region, we thought no better time than now to do a presentation for you regarding some fireworks-related items. So first I'm going to cover Metro Fire's role in fireworks as well as the 4th of July, both before, during, and after. And now we're going to cover emergency response, cause and origin fire investigations, fire prevention, and fire education. Emergency response. Due to changing weather conditions in July, Metro Fire has already seen an increase in call volumes throughout July. But when we look at July 4th, we see a significant call increase within that 24-hour period. Historically, on the 4th of July, between about 7 p.m. and midnight, we see a huge influx of calls. And this is primarily due to fireworks, both illegal and not legal fireworks. In 2018, during this 5-hour period, the Sacramento Regional Fire Emergency Communications Center processed over 380 calls. This is a 230% increase compared to any other day in July. Basically, our dispatch center is processing a call every minute, and every 2.5 minutes they're processing a fire type of call. That's very significant. Also within this 5-hour period, when you look at our regional system, Metro Fire, Sacramento City Fire, Folsom, and Cosumnes, we're running over 145 fires within this 5-hour period. This is structure fires, grass fires, tree fires, dumpster fires, bush fires, etc. All fire type related calls. So as you can imagine, Metro Fire is very, very busy on the 4th of July. Fire investigations. On average, our fire investigations unit conducts one thorough investigation each and every day. These investigations can take just a few hours, or in some cases, several weeks to complete. In 2018, our fire investigations unit conducted over 83 investigations during the month of July. This is a 267% increase compared to June of 2018 in August of 2018. Of those, 20 of those fires were caused by illegal fireworks. 16 were caused by safe and sane fireworks. Yes, safe and sane fireworks also cause fires. This is primarily due to improper use and improper disposal of those fireworks. This is where I'd like to urge the public, when you're doing everything right, keep those spent fireworks inside of that metal container filled with water all night long. There's no reason to rush to put them into your trash can. I have been on calls at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning on a house fire because somebody played by all the rules. They did everything right, but they put those spent fireworks into their trash can just a little bit too early. And we all keep our trash cans right up against the side of our house, and it catches our house on fire. So I urge the public, don't rush. Leave those spent fireworks underwater all night long. You can dispose of them the next day. Illegal fireworks. Our region is continually challenged with illegal fireworks. In 2018, the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department received over 1,248 calls for service related to illegal fireworks between June 1st and August 1st. This year, in an effort to combat this problem, the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department is going to be deploying some additional resources both on the 3rd and 4th of July throughout the county. And this is going to be focused on those possessing, selling, and using illegal fireworks. Also, within our state responsibility area in Rancho Marietta and Slough House, we will have some CAL FIRE investigators also patrolling that area, looking for those folks that are not playing by the rules. These resources, in addition to your Metro Fire investigators, which are going to be out focused on the cause and origin of fires, will all be working together to help combat this problem, knowing that our investigators are going to be running from one call to the next, just due to the call volume. I want to reemphasize that those folks that possess, sell, or use illegal fireworks can expect if they get caught, they will be cited and their fireworks will be confiscated. With that, I would like to pass the podium over to our Fire Marshal, Barksdale, to cover fire prevention.
Good evening. Not only are our crews busy on response calls, they're also participating in many community events on the 4th of July, the morning of the 4th of July. So between 8 and noon, they'll be participating in 14 parades throughout the district, the majority of them being in our Battalion 7 area. There's also numerous special events throughout this 4th of July time period. The largest event being at Hagan Park. It's a 2-day event. We have line personnel, prevention personnel. They have fireworks shoots, live music, a carnival area. So a lot of time and effort dedicated to that event. In addition to that, we have our Safe and Sane fireworks. The fireworks booths open tomorrow at noon, so June 28th at noon, and they're on sale through July 4th at 10 p.m. So with that, our fire inspectors will be very busy. We inspect every booth the day they open. The first day this year, because it is a Friday, 170 of those booths are expected to open. So between noon and whenever we finish, we'll be out inspecting those, ensuring that they're in compliance with health and safety codes, city and county codes, and the fire code. Then we have the larger public displays on the 3rd and 4th. There's 3 the night of the 3rd and 3 the night of the 4th. Again, for those, our fire inspectors will be out at those sites as soon as they start setting up for the event, making sure that their racks and configurations are compliant. They'll remain there throughout the evening until all fireworks are expelled and the sites are cleared and safe. On the educational side of things, there's a couple of messages we want to make sure to deliver. One of them is ensuring that the public understands legal versus illegal fireworks. Looking at the 2 photos, they look fairly similar. The picture on my left is Safe and Sane, considered Safe and Sane fireworks from TNT. In the bottom left corner, you'll see, and you'll see it enlarged down lower, the Safe and Sane logo the fireworks sold and used in California need to bear that label. If it's not on the individual fireworks itself, when you buy a pack, it would be labeled on the outside of that sealed pack. Although the fireworks to the right look very similar, they actually have a charge in them, and they are what started one of our large grass fires last year. So the good rule of thumb is if it goes up in the air, darts across the ground, or explodes, it's illegal. Taking into consideration the facts and information we've received over the last few years as to what is causing our fires, we made a concerted effort this year moving forward on proper use and disposal of those fireworks. So as you see, just to remember, you have to be 18 or older to use or possess fireworks. You want to keep them away from dry grass, trees, and homes. Sorry. Never point or throw the fireworks. Make sure that you have a hose and a bucket of water readily available. And like Chief Wagaman said, soak them thoroughly before you dispose of them in your trash can. One last thing I'd like to mention is Metro Fire is a member of the Greater Sacramento Area Task Force. The task force is comprised of representatives from local fire agencies, law enforcement, the district attorney's office, and fireworks industry. This year, the fire safety message going forward will be delivered on a regional basis, really again focused on safe and sane fireworks. I don't have one for you, but on the back of the flyer, there is references to illegal fireworks. On the front, it goes over proper use and disposal. Regionally, the fire inspectors for all of the local agencies will be delivering 300 of these to each of the fireworks booths. As they're doing their inspections, they'll be able to explain the importance and value to the booth operators of providing these to their constituents when they're coming to purchase the products. In addition to that, our PIO, Captain Vestal, will be doing various media spots over the next few days. We'll be providing information on social media and some other miscellaneous types of outreach. And with that, we'll leave it if you have any questions for either of us.
Director Barnes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just thank you for the presentation. Obviously, out in Rancho Marietta, our area, we love the fireworks display, but I also know there's a huge burden put on your team about making sure they get out and get it certified. So I apologize in advance. But thank you also in advance for all the work you and your team do to make it safe and enjoyable for everybody, and all the displays as well. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I would personally like to thank both Chief Wagaman and Fire Marshal Barsdale for being very, very attentive to all the activities around the 4th of July, and I super, super appreciate the educational component that can do a lot and go a long way to remedy any safety hazards that occur. So thank you both very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, with our changed up agenda, we will now convene to closed session and address the rest of the items on the agenda after closed session. All right, welcome back, everyone. We will reconvene to open session. Council, please report out on closed session.
Yes, thank you, Director Jones. The board met in closed session with respect to the matter set forth on the closed session agenda. No reportable action was taken.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to move on to action items. Action item number 1, 2018 State Homeland Security Grant Program Award. Erin Castleberry, welcome.
Thank you. Hello to everyone tonight. I am pleased to be before you tonight to once again request the board's approval for the acceptance of a grant on behalf of Metro Fire. This time it is a fiscal year 2018 State Homeland Security Grant. 2 years ago in October 2017, we applied for 2 separate projects actually. One was for the purchase of 20 sets of Level 3 ballistic protective equipment for our TEMS and arson investigators. That was fully funded at $87,400. The second request was for a flood response boat program, And that was partially funded at 50% in the amount of $124,328. The majority of that will be used to purchase 4 what they call John boats and a trailer and all the supplies that go with that. It is our intent to apply again for the second half that we did not receive funding for in this year's fiscal cycle State Homeland Security Grant Program. So if there aren't any other questions, we would request the board's approval of the grant award and also the budget amendment to amend the budget to include those funds.
Thank you, Ms. Castle. Thank you, Ms. Castleberry. Are there any questions or comments from my fellow directors?
I'll move staff's recommendation, Madam Chair.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Dr. Sailors.
Aye.
Gould.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Clark. Barnes.
Aye.
And Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. We have action item number 2, contract amendment, ambulance transport services, AMR. Deputy Chief Bridge, welcome to the podium.
Thank you. Good evening, directors. Chief Arms, Eric Bridge, Deputy Chief Operations. Tonight, staff seeking Board of Directors approval of an amendment to the agreement for ambulance transport services provided by AMR. We're seeking a 12-month extension of the existing agreement with an expiration date of June 30th of 2020. Current fiscal impact, excuse me, under this current agreement as we sit here for the next 3 days, the district compensates AMR at a base rate of $125.71 per unit hour, provided up to 2,165 transports, just a formula we use, and then if it goes above that, the rate goes up. In the new extension period, the district would compensate AMR at a base rate of $142.81 per unit hour, provided up to 2,289 transports in a period of 4 consecutive months. So funding for the ambulance transport service was included in the 1920 budget. Staff's recommending that the Board of Directors approve the 4th Amendment to the agreement for ambulance transport services with AMR for a period of 12 months from July 1, 2019 to June 30th of 2020.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions or comments from my fellow directors?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve staff's recommendation to the amendment to the agreement for ambulance transportation with American Medical Response for a period of 12 months.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and second. Please call the roll.
Dr. Sailors.
Aye.
Gould.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Barnes. And Jones.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. We're going to move on to reports. For President's report, I just have one announcement, and that will be at the end of our session, our meeting tonight, we will have a moment of silence for Officer Tara O'Sullivan. That is my report. Moving on, Fire Chief.
Good evening, President and board members. First off, I just want to thank Station 21 and the crews that were here. As you can see, it's a very dedicated group. And sometimes you saw pictures in their slides of behind Station 21 and some things that they would do locally. Leaving the region and going somewhere opens up that whole different area, and I definitely see the excitement in those folks coming back. I think we have done a very good job of equipping the program, either through the district or through grants. And then the ability to challenge them, the challenge that group to say, what are the things that you can do to think outside the box? And then the real benefit is that it may not be exactly a car over a bridge, but it's somewhere where you be able to use those skills and apply them at Old Dark 30 out on the street somewhere. So thanks to that group. And then with the group talking about fireworks and talking about the July 4th. You can see that it truly has an impact across the district. And I know we focus just on fireworks, but the amount of folks that are working on the days before the 4th of July and the weekend after, and then just the call volume. For a lot of those folks, it'll probably be 24 or 48 hours with very little rest. and just very high activity. And I'm glad people are out and they're having a good time, but it does have an impact on us and in the district and being able to upstaff for all of those events that are going on during that time. One retirement to talk about on June 14th, Tom Neville retired after 29 years of service. It's interesting that we mentioned Tom tonight because he was part of that special operations at Station 21 and the development of a lot of the things that happened over there to get that program to where it is today. And I'm sure as we move forward, we're going to miss Tom and his input and his drive around that program. A lot of meetings with crews and staff. On the 22nd, I attended my first Firefighter Burn Institute Tropical Fair. Had just a great time out there. It was very well attended and very well put together. Myself and the executive staff on the 24th, we meet about every other month with Sac City. And we sit and discuss, myself and the deputies, of just really what are the topics, what are things that are going on. Two of the main topics that we talked about were our ambulances, our ambulance deployment in the region here. Between the two of us, we probably have about 95% of the calls that are dispatched. We know a large percentage of those, 80%, are medical calls, and working together on how do we maintain ambulance coverage. And the other thing is the response to violent incidents. And while we've made steps forward in really our communication, but how do we communicate with the law enforcement that is there, incidents that are very dynamic, that have limited information, how do we manage those? And being able to take some recent events and sit down and critique those things and say, what can we do better, were two of the main topics that we talked about. Went to the honors and award ceremony for Citrus Heights. We had a labor management meeting that we sat down. There were some issues that are happening with First Amendment rights in the videotaping of firefighters, trying to get members to engage in a very negative engagement. So we've talked about that and some training for our members. We talked about the ambulance contract, labor's involvement in new Station 68 and the design, having the members that are at 68, have them put in some input into the station, since that'll be their home that they'll be living in. Talked about strike teams and a lot of talk about uniforms and the uniform policy moving forward. Met this morning with a breakfast with 522 and talked about negotiations moving forward. And the last thing just for you to mark on your calendar is July 16th is the promotional ceremony over at the Rancho Cordova City Hall at 6 p.m. We have, I think you all got a flyer for that, and you can see we almost had to go to a second page, is that we've got enough, a lot of promotions that have happened over this past year, and we'll celebrate those again on the 16th at Rancho Cordova at the City Hall there at 6 p.m. That is all I have for my report.
Thank you, Chief. All right, we have Firefighters Local 522 report. Oh, my goodness. Well, see, I wanted to make sure that we kept you on the calendar. And so, sorry to throw you for a loop. Now, to keep in 522, please step down for a minute. We have Chief Bridge for operations.
Away from the podium.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, that was my bad. I'll take responsibility for it.
That's fine.
Apologies, Chief.
There's lots of good information. Everybody's just chomping
Everyone,
at the
yeah.
bit to speak and share some good news. Well, I get to share some good news too, but it's been real busy the last couple weeks. So since I think our last board meeting, we've had over close to 4,000 calls, of which 13 structure fires. So that's a lot of fires of significance. Those aren't just small bush fires, but we're talking about major structure fires and things going on. It was just last night, I believe it was, we had 200 acres going in the Placer County. And the fact that Chief Wagaman is still here awake is a good thing, because his shift has actually been extremely busy over the last couple of shifts as well. Also dealt with the aircraft landing incident at McClellan when one of the Learjets landing gear failed, and the crews out there did a fantastic job of responding quickly. So had there been any ignition of fuel, they were in a position to put some foam on that immediately. So It's not a call that we normally go on, but we do a lot of training on. And again, our members did a fantastic job of quick response on that. Also, we had, the sad part about which President Jones mentioned earlier, our moment of silence at the end, but I couldn't be more proud of our members who supported that incident as well. Again, Chief Wagman assisted with some of our special operations and our UAV that assisted law enforcement on that incident so they could get some better eyes on that situation. And just the interaction with SAC Fire and SAC PD and the Sheriff's Department, CHPD, it was a job well done by our members there on that as well. And kind of rolling with that theme, today we had, I think, 6 overpasses. Chief Mitchell had coordinated with SAC PD and SAC Fire, to make sure we wanted them to know that we're thinking about them. So that was well done. Keeping with the theme here of appreciations, I want to thank Rescue 21, Station 21 crew. They, again, that was a good job. They don't normally get to come up here and present, so, but nonetheless, a fantastic training opportunity that we were able to take advantage of, and that information comes back, and it makes our members that much better as they share that information. So thanks to Firefighter Van Brunt, Firefighter Watts, Captain Butler for doing that. They're now going to have a new boss that they're going to report to as well, and I can make that announcement as well as Special Operations. We have a battalion chief in charge of that. Now our new battalion chief of oversight of Special Operations will be Chris Green, and he's in there here in the audience as well, and there he is, right back there, waving. So he's been already doing a fantastic job with that, and also I've since the promotion, and I want to thank Assistant Chief Tom Neville for his great work that he's done, not only in special operations, but he did a fantastic job with our air program as well. And but since his departure, we've had to fill that, and so I will be reassigned. Chief Green, Chris Green, will have oversight of that as well. So he's got some years left here, so I want there to be some sustainability and consistency in that program, and he's already doing great things for us in that role. So lastly, 2 other training items. I want to stick with and get into the EMS side of things. We've been doing some really good training on the suppression side and special operations side, but some of the things most recently we've done that I want to share with you is the support from the training division. The EMS division sent our CQI manager, our EMS staff, peer review committee members, paramedic preceptors, and academy drill cadre members to a certified ambulance documentation specialist, so otherwise known as CADS, class on June 18th. The CADS certification is the first offered by National Association of Ambulance Compliance that is specifically geared for EMTs, paramedics, and other EMS field practitioners. This program is designed to provide a broad understanding of the rules and standards of EMS documentation and then dive into the skills needed to meet those expectations. This class was taught by Stephen Worth of Page, Wolfberg, and Worth, the national EMS industry law firm. So it was a very well attended, a lot of good positive feedback, something that I'm sure everyone is very aware of, the importance of good documentation. So also our fire service director, our medical director, Dr. Kevin Mackey, arranged Teleflex procedural cadaver lab on June 21st. Participants were able to enhance their understanding of advanced airways and interosseous placement using multiple learning modalities, including didactic and hands-on practice with the cadavers and some simulation aids. Case study and patient care scenarios were designed to provide attendees with an opportunity to apply the program content to simulated clinical practice. The content was designed to provide attendees with the information necessary to make well-informed decisions to optimize patient care. So good stuff, really good training stuff going on. And again, couldn't be more proud of our training division too. Doing good things on the EMS side of training as well as our special operations. So lastly, before I close out, I did want to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about our special operations to continue on with that in our air program. So we're fortunate enough to have members from our air division, and I want to bring up our air operations crew member, Captain Bryce Mitchell, to talk a little bit about a couple of recent calls, but most significantly, thank you, Derek Sheets, coming up as well. They were on the helicopter last night, or yesterday morning, and I'll let them brief you on the story of an outstanding job that they did and a difference that they made that actually, really, there's no other resource in Northern California that could have done this. So with that, I'll turn it over to Captain Mitchell. Give a little scenario.
Thanks, Chief.
You bet.
How you doing, Board? Thank you very much for having us. Captain Bryce Mitchell with Air Operations. So what we were asked to do tonight is come in and give a better depiction of what our call represented yesterday. In the last week, we've had a dramatic uptick in our out-of-county responses. These aren't the deployments that we went on last year. These are calls for services in the mountains and the regions outside of our area. One of the things that we saw very clearly this week in our multiple responses, we've had 3 rescue calls out of the area in just the past week, 2 of which resulted in hoist rescues. In that, 2 of them were night calls, and we utilized the NVG systems that we have. One of the lucky things is on one of the incidents, we were already up training with that device and with those pieces of equipment. So we were able to go out and respond very quickly to that missing person out in the Forest Hill area. Last night, or I should say 2 nights ago, sorry, there was a call for service for something that there's no other resources for. For any that's familiar with Soda Springs area, if you were to head to Soda Springs and just turn due south and go out into the wilderness, there's some extremely steep and extremely rough terrain. There's world-class kayaking back there with waterfall after waterfall. Well, one of these high skill set kayakers was doing a multi-day trip down through the wilderness in this kayaking. He had a significant shoulder injury with a major dislocation of his shoulder, which in of itself doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're surrounded by waterfalls and in a very steep canyon, it leaves you little to truly no options in getting out. Luckily, they had a emergency beacon. They were able to get some word out, and they had crews trying to access from the day before all the way into the night. We were dispatched right before the end of our normal shift, which is about 7:30 in the evening. So we were dispatched. We assembled all of our gear, responded to that call. Our crews, I want to stress this wholly because we talk about risk assessment in all aspects of our job. We do it in the fire side. We do it whether we're fighting wildland fires. We talk about making sure that the decisions we're making are prudent for the call we're responding to. They responded to this area with their NVGs in an area with no moonlight, with very little conditions to assist them or to make the call better. What they ended up, and I'm going to try to do my best to describe this, we received video on this, and we're going to try to get to that to you folks as soon as we could. We just received it late this afternoon. So there was a very tight canyon. When I say tight, I mean it was about 30 to 40 feet across, about 100 to 125 feet down. There was steep waterfalls on both sides of this canyon, and then there was 100-foot tall trees bordering the canyon wall. So you can imagine he's several hundred feet from where we were able to hover to get into that person. When the crews arrived last night, they did a really thorough assessment of the area. They finally made it into where the individual was at, which was difficult to locate, and they just decided this was not a safe operation. They got in additional information that, hey, he was equipped for multi-days, which means he had a sleeping bag or some warm weather equipment. So they said, okay, the best option for this right now is he's going to survive the night, he'll be okay, and we cannot safely do this operation at night, even though we have the equipment. So they turned down the mission for the night part of the operation. Through that intel they gathered, made our job the next morning, coming on as a fresh crew, significantly easier. They gave us outstanding information, and they made the right decision. Because when we got on scene to that call, I can tell you it's about as full on as it gets. That was, we used almost every foot of cable we have available on that hoist. It was a 225-foot hoist into an area. He was on a ledge that was about 3 by 3. With that being the case, that doesn't mean that we rushed into it as, hey, we're going to just make this happen. We took very thorough assessments of the situation, and the fortunate thing for it was what made this call successful is the training that we've done up to this point. The fire chief, the board, operations, everybody has supported our training because we've all seen things online when training or helicopter events go bad. This is an event that all that training that we've lined up to this point absolutely made this a success. We had crews on scene that are mountain rescue crews. The feedback we got from them was that it was the most impressive rescue they've ever seen. Most of them didn't even know our resource existed. And so to see us be able to not only provide the equipment and the aircraft and the crews, we were able to send a rescuer down. Firefighter Sheets was the rescuer on that mission. Every part about it just gave me pride in the way the mission went. The only other option for this individual was a multi-day rope rescue operation. The crews that made it to the ledge above him took them about 6 hours to gain access, and these are 4 extremely fit individuals. So it would have taken multiple trips with over a dozen people to do a high line, very technical rescue to get that individual out, of which would have been, quite frankly, more risky than the hoist rescue. So this was the tool for the job, and there was no other resources in the area to get this individual out. The Placer County and CHP, they weren't available for this. So this put us first up for that, and having that resource is a good example. Although this was one person and one call, just like the rescue program prepares for San Francisco, we're in a high-risk area. A dam could break, a levee could rupture. All these things are high possibilities, and when that occurs, the support that the board and that operation gives to making us ready for that is going to pay off dividends when the time comes, and this was just basically a good example of that. We're going to provide some video and give you more information so you can have a good visual. We just couldn't get it prepped in time. I apologize for that, but that's a rough description of what occurred. Does anybody have any questions on the mission itself or the other ones we've been going on recently?
Just wow.
It was the crews. They did a really good job. The pilot on that call, all of our pilots and the rescuers, they're prepared. They train really hard, and that was the large commercial fire or whatever that we prepared in our division. So, I honestly, truly, and sincerely, thank you for the support because it made us feel safe on that call. So, thank you.
All right, I think Director Sailors has a comment, question.
I have a comment, if that's okay. I just want to say congratulations and thank you for that great rescue you did yesterday or the day before. And I just want to say one thing, that this tool, the helicopter, I think is a wonderful addition to this top-notch organization that we have. And it makes me as excited as when I was a young firefighter when we went from axes to chainsaws. Because it really is that much of a change and a great addition to the fire department.
Yeah, it's a different way to do the same job. And that's the thing. We do fire, EMS, and rescue. We're just like an engine company. We're staffed very similar.
And
But
kudos. Kudos to you guys, and I want you to spread the word to all of your crews out there and all the pilots. I think it's a wonderful, great tool. Keep it up.
Thank you very much, Board. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Director Sailors. All right, a bit delayed, but still very important. Local 522. You're wrapped up? Now you keep. All right, Chief, you got to text me when you need more time. Just text me. We'll take care of it. Welcome to the podium, and sorry for the delay.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. My name is Brett Randall. I'm a firefighter at Firehouse 23, and I'm here representing 522, and apologize for the absence of Jameson this evening, but I'll be taking this spot for the evening. First off, I just want to recognize and say that we stand with our brothers in blue and recognize the sacrifice that Officer O'Sullivan made the last week, and we're here to support them for anything that they need. Let's see. We've been meeting with the district and about negotiations, and things have been going well there. And we also like to thank the communication and the dialogue with the board and moving forward in that process, and the willingness to discuss the issues and questions and concerns with our members. Also want to thank everyone that attended the Tropical Affair. It was a great event, and we want to thank Director Barnes for the $7,500 that was given from the Guns and Hoses, and that was a great event, and we appreciate everyone that attended that. We'd like to also express our thanks in the extension of the AMR contracts for the next year, and we're in support of that. And we would like to also acknowledge the decisions and everything that the board has made. And you know, with everything that's been going on, we just thanks for your guys' work and effort and everything that you guys have done. That's all for us, and thanks again for this opportunity, and have a good evening.
I'd just like to compliment you on your suit choice tonight.
Thanks.
Although I think you wear it better than I do.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, in all honesty, thanks for being here, appreciate it, and appreciate all you do for us, too.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, there's no mercy here. Thank you very much, sir. All right, moving on. All righty, we have committee and delegate reports. Executive committee, no report. We'll move to our communication center, JPA, AC Wagaman.
Thank you, and good evening again, President Jones, directors, and Chief Harms. Tyler Wagaman, Assistant Chief of Operations, speaking on behalf of the Comm Center Board. The board last met on Tuesday, June 25th, here at Metro Fire Board Chambers. And we actually had two meetings that day. We started off with a 9 o'clock special board meeting where we focused on our budget. And we wanted to put a bow on that. We had lots to talk about, and as you know, there's been some challenges over there recently, and I think we're getting a lot closer to solving those problems. So the glass is definitely half full. I appreciate the attendance of Director Sailors and the audience. I appreciate your patience as well. If 5 minutes after we started, I think we went to closed session for about 3 hours. So my apologies, and thank you again for your attendance. Yes. In the afternoon, we had our regular scheduled board meeting where our budget for 1920 was approved unanimously. The only other item I have is during the winter months, during the power outage, we had some significant infrastructure issues at the center. And I can tell you that the staff over there have been working very hard, and they installed a brand-new server that hosts our CAD software. And that was one of the biggest issues that we had during that power outage, was losing that server. So I can tell you with confidence now that we have a very strong server to house that software, really, that to support the men and women out there doing the job every single day. So I'm really happy to report that here this evening. With that being said, that concludes my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Comments? Okay, thank you, Chief. Moving on to California Fire and Rescue Training, JPA, DC Shannon.
Good evening, President Jones, Board. As I reported out last meeting, we had a strategic plan meeting on the 20th. I'd like to give you some highlights to that. First off, I'd like to thank JPA staff for coordinating the meeting and retired Chief Dan Haverty for facilitating that meeting. So I think the way we broke that down, or the best way to break it down, is we talked about present day conversations, what we do every day, and in regards, and then also our medium and long range goals. Present day topics were obviously centered around service delivery to our member agencies and the JPA's ability to accomplish those goals and projections set forth at the beginning of the fiscal year last year. Those short-term goals are on track. I will, in my next report for the board or council meeting, we'll give you some of those numbers that I'll report out from the board meeting we had after our strategic plan. The meeting was productive, but as the theme went on, as we moved further into the day and focused our talks more on identifying the medium and long-range goals, we did touch on some of the more challenging goals and what these goals look like in the future. Some of those goals, when we looked at it, when we wanted to look at what does a JPA look like in 5 years, and I think what we were talking about is what does the leadership and the organizational structure and chart look like, the financial support, class structure. Some of those were some of the 5-year look identifiers. We also we wanted to, does the JPA meet the current and future needs of the contributing agencies? And some of that conversation started to change a little bit as the day went on. And also, one of the topics was growth and additional agencies to the JPA. And basically, really, the ever-present, historically, the most challenging issues that we talked many times over the years is facilities, classrooms, and a training site for the future. So when we talked about moving forward, and Chief Marshall, I think I introduced Chief Marshall replacing Chief Zagaris a few months back, and he really has 3 or 4 months under his belt here, and he's basically in charge of the OES in the state of California. So in his new position, we needed to give him a little more time. I think some of the challenges that we were talking about wasn't something that we were going to correct or change or come to consensus that day. So really moving forward, I think that the direction right now, and we're going to keep the short-term goals, what we're doing every day. I'll report out on that. But also, I think in the future, we're going to, it was recommended that we get the fire chiefs of the sponsoring agencies in the building along with OES director to get into the building and really start maybe reverse engineering some of these challenges that we've had for a number of years and see where we might be able to make progress with that and then work our way backwards a little bit. So in the end of the day, it was productive with our short goals. We need some work on the long-term goals and the medium goals. So moving forward, no announcement on when that will happen, but hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to all get in the room and have some much more in-depth conversations. After that strategic plan, we did just have our regular board meeting. And I think last year I was in front of you and I talked a little bit about the projections. Projected classes and students trained, and I gave you some numbers. So at the end of this fiscal year, I'm going to go through projections and actuals. They projected 84 training deliveries for the fiscal year 18-19. They delivered 91 so far, so 108% of the projection. They projected 1,387 students trained. They came up with 1,550. So 111% of projections. Projected net revenue, $418,000. Came up with $448,000. Actual expenses, $345,000. $345,000 was $382,000. And projected gross revenue was $72,900. And they came a little under at $66,200 or $66,800 if I had my glasses on. So as you can see, they met and exceeded projections on what we're doing every day. And the topic of those was, what are we doing for our members and our agencies? And what classes can we provide them? That we talked a lot about our training division. And our training division and our training calendars are just absolute packed every day. And they could be packed for 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. So what can we provide our members outside of that training that we provide every day? And they're doing it. They're doing it. I've reported out prior to that, or prior to tonight. They're doing a great job. So we're going to build off of that, look into the medium and long range goals down the future, and hopefully report back relatively soon on some of the progress. So with that, if you have any questions,
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments? Thank you, Chief Shannon. All right, we have Finance and Audit Committee. I believe Director Wood will give us a report.
Yeah, the Finance and Audit Committee did not meet today. Our next meeting will be July 25th at 5:30.
Okay. Policy Committee, Director Gould.
Policy Committee will be meeting July 11th at 5:30 in these chambers.
All right. Sounds up. Okay, we come to board member questions and comments, and we'll begin all the way to my left. Director Barnes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few things tonight. Again, the Tropical Affair event, everybody that attended, thank you. It was a great event. It was mentioned by Representative 522. I will say that we were able to give from the charity that I'm a part of, $7,500 to the Firefighter Burn Institute, which is important and a proud partner of ours. I want to thank Director Wood for helping me get in contact more with Mike Daw and how we can strengthen that partnership. So I appreciate all you do for them, the volunteer work, so thank you for that. So today, interesting times we live in, right? I've been on the job for my day job 21 years, and it was said to me that we've seen 13 in the light of duty deaths just locally. And we were breaking that down, a bunch of us were talking, we're looking at all the youth that are in the professions, both fire and law enforcement. And it's neat, I'd say, lack of better terms, neat, but it's inspiring to see so many youth that still want to come into a profession when they're stringing up tape and they're being antagonized by trying to help the public. It's interesting. And when now we got to provide training on the fire side so we don't respond, so we don't become the next viral video and someone hopes to make a lot of money, right? When we're trying to provide a service, I mean, rounds are flying. And members of Metro Fire and other surrounding agencies came into that, basically that hot zone to help an officer that was down and anybody else that got into there, even in the public. So to see that bravery, to hear it, and the professional staff that's in the building that hears it, immediately turns the TV on and prays it's no member that they know. For the dispatchers that hears this, the fear in the voice, I just say thank you. To show up every day that you do. The proud men and women of this organization, public safety alone in this region, I always say we represent the silent majority, not the ones that want to get on camera and try and incite someone to do something silly. So I just say thank you. I had a few things written down, but that's as far as I could probably get through. But I apologize, Ms. Melissa, for not letting you know I will not be here for the next board meeting. I will be on an island somewhere and hopefully turn my phone off. So with that, I just want to say thank you. I'm humbled by the service that everybody provides. Coming up on 4th of July, there's going to be a lot of people having to work, overworked, no sleep, and away from their families. So I just ask everybody to be safe, take care of one another, and love each other. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. David Warren on his showing his appreciation for our members out there doing a great job. The word training was mentioned a lot today, and one of the things that's really important for me, and I will always support it, is good training, good equipment. So whenever I have the confidence, and I know that our constituents have the confidence of any disaster that happens in this jurisdiction, that we can handle it. Kudos to the chief for his forward thinking on the training, because once in a while we get criticized for the amount of money. For example, when we sent the guys out to Georgia, well, why are you spending all this money? Well, there's good reason, because whenever we have a need for that knowledge and those skills, it's right there. It almost becomes instinctive for our crews, and that's much appreciated. Also, for as long as I've been here on this dais, every year we talk about the 4th of July and all the fires and the misuse of fireworks. One thing that I really appreciate is because we often focus on illegal fireworks, and it's good that we, Chief Wagman and Fire Marshal Barksdale emphasize also that illegal fireworks can also be a problem. So, and that's all I have to say. And also, my condolences to the family of the O'Sullivans on the loss of Tara, their loved one. That's all I have tonight, Madam Chair.
Director Wood?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to hold not saying anything.
Director Sailors?
I'd like to thank everyone for their wonderful presentations tonight. And I'd also, today was a rough day with Officer O'Sullivan's service. It hits home. It's been, as Director Barnes says, even though it was a PD line of duty death, it's been 20 years since Bill Bean's death. But it's just, they're still family, even though they're partners in crime with us. We're all on the same team. Please stay safe out there during this 4th of July. And that's it. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Sailors. Director Gould?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our condolences again to all of those affected by this tragedy. It's unspeakable, and there's really no words. I'm also very proud of both presentations this evening relative to special ops. I remember a few months ago when we talked about a particular tool, and that it would respond only to the hills along the American River. That was clearly not big thinking at the time, because it's just amazing to me how this single resource now is a Northern California, probably Western Nevada, and who else is jealous would probably want access to that tool. So kudos to the leadership of this organization that have been keeping that at the forefront, because it's a series of tools. Our rescues, I brag about it that it's at Station 21, which happens to be in the city that I help represent. So that's always a good thing, when we should never ever move it from there. That would be a bad thing. But thank you for those presentations. They were outstanding. And then I just like to apologize to my colleagues and really explain why I don't appear at the Festival of Tropical Affairs. If you look into my background, June 23rd is not a particularly exciting day in my life. And so I apologize up front that it's probably not a good place for me to be around my friends and colleagues and peers when I need to be with my wife. And so I apologize up front when those things occur. But thank you very much, Madam Chair, for your leadership in a rather month of difficult processes for this body. And thank you for your leadership in that regard. And thank you for all the men and women and support staff that make this, as we hear, a top-notch, top-rate, unparalleled organization. And I'm proud to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gould. Honorable Director Sheets.
Thank you. I too want to say thank you for all the presentation items today. They were very informative and just gives me so much pride to represent this organization. I would like to send heartfelt congratulations to Chief Neville and wish him the best in his retirement. Well deserved. I did have the opportunity to attend the Tropical Fair, and it was a great night, and I really appreciated the opportunity to attend. I also would like to send prayers and safe thoughts to all the crews that will be working on 4th of July. I know how busy that day is, not only for the hospitals, but also for the men and women who are bringing us those patients. And then would like to send my condolences and prayers to Officer Sullivan's family and her police family as well. That's it.
Thank you very much, Director Sheets. All the good words, comments from my fellow directors have covered all the very, very important items leading up to tonight's meeting. So I have nothing more to add. Will we all please stand in a moment of silence for Officer Tara O'Sullivan. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.